Hey everyone, this is Stephen Strawn at Cast Iron Cookware, where you can find information to help you better collect, restore, and use cast iron cookware. Today we're going to be talking about rust and how much is too much. We're going to be doing that coming right up. Before we get started into the video, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has purchased my seasoning stick. I just want to let you know that that has been making it possible for me to continue making videos. And if you're interested in purchasing my cast iron seasoning, you can find it at cicookware.com. So check it out because that is what keeps this channel going. Okay, now on to the cast iron. I got quite a few pieces and I'm going to go ahead and pull the camera down so we can see them. Now, you'll always find pieces that have a little bit of rust in them like this, a little bit of dirt, a little bit of everything else. Old seasoning, probably even some old food. This one here has got just a little speck of rust right here. Now when you're looking at cast iron, you're going to be getting your hands dirty. Now you can rub around and you can see if there's going to be pits or not. This one right here does not appear that it will have any pits. But I can tell you the handle feels a little rough. So there has been some rust that has affected the surface a little bit. But I'm telling you, once we get this one cleaned and get it seasoned, it's a little number 3 Birmingham Stove and Range Red Mountain with the small pour spouts. And I think it will clean up just nice. We have another one right here, and it is a Wagner ware, made in USA. And it's got some surface rust on it. And a little bit of deeper rust right here in one cup. It's like this cup had some water dripping in it and it just rusted. But even though it has lost a little bit of its surface, it will clean up just right and season up without an issue. Now here is a Birmingham Stove and Range, and it is terrible. It's a Century series, but you can even see where it's so spotty, and even pieces of layers of the bottom are even peeling off, and this looks horrible. I mean, I just don't even want to touch it hardly, and it's pitted really badly. Now I'm going to tell you, it will probably still clean up and be a good user, but as far as looks, it will always look pitted. It will always look rough, even on the edges. And I've seen these before. Somebody laughed at me because I said this. I've even seen it where the letters were rusted so bad that you couldn't even read them. They were almost rusted away. So this one right here is in terrible shape. It can be a user, but not very much collectible value involved in that. We have kind of the same issue with this one. We have, it appears to be one cup got the water. I wouldn't be surprised to say that these were probably stacked together because that's what we have. And the water dripped and filled both cups. But it's a little rusty, but you can feel it. It feels a little on the rough side. But on the back, you can still see some of the old seasoning. It's a little bit black. Now this is a Lodge. Lodge had several different styles. This one right here had the wide hole, and it also had the knob. Sometimes you'll see them with a little flat spot here. There were several different design changes. Now here is another Lodge that is a lot like the Birmingham Stove and Range we had, and it is terrible, front and back. It's going to clean up and be able to be used. But as far as collectible value, there really are not any collectible value left in this one. But it's still a good user. Not at this point, but it can be cleaned up. We'll change the camera around just a little bit. Take these and set them to the side. Now here's a little muffin pan that we showed on our last video. We had several of these. And this one right here has got some surface rust on it, and it's not too bad. And most of the surface rust is on the outside. The inside appears to be nice and slick. Not an issue at all. This will clean up and look like new once we get done with it. So going back to our original question, how much rust is too much? We'll take our little Lodge pan and our little Birmingham stove and range pan that are actually pitted. Now, if I seen these out, I would definitely pass on them. Now, if somebody gave them to me, which is almost kind of how it's went, I'm not going to let them go. I'm going to get them cleaned up. But as far as trouble and labor putting into it, those are really not worth it. So if somebody told me that I could have these for $2 a piece, I would probably say, no, not really interested. Or if they said, well, I'll just let you have them because I don't know what to do with them, I'm not really interested in it either, because the amount of labor compared to how much return you're going to get back on it for us, having something that looks good. And of course, it's going to be a good user. Don't get me wrong. It's just not worth the trouble. So we'll take this little piece here. It's a Wagner Sydney-O. Now you can still see the seasoning on the back of it, the old seasoning. Now it's got rust around the edges. And on the inside, it's pretty rusty. Now, I can kind of rub it around and I don't see any pits. There is a lot of surface rust. I don't think it actually stood in water. I think it was mostly condensation, moisture that caused this one to rust. Now I believe this one will clean up and not have any issues at all, even though it looks bad. Now sometimes you will be surprised. You may clean this thing up and it'll have pits and all kind of issues that were covered up by the rust. Also, this is a number 6. Now, if it's a piece that's a little hard to find, it's more worth saving, even if it is more rusty. Now, we got this Lodge number 8 3-notch. Now it's got a lot of surface rust on it, and you can feel the roughness. And it doesn't feel like the roughness of the original cast. It feels like the roughness, like some of the layers have been taken off of it. The handle has got a roughness. Even around the bottom, you can actually, it feels kind of like sandpaper. So the rust has taken its toll on this one, and it has eaten down into the metal, and especially around the edge, you can just feel it. You can hear it as I'm rubbing it. Now, if you're rubbing a place and it's not making a lot of noise, but this is like sandpaper rubbing. Now, the inside is full of rust, but it looks like most of it is surface rust and dirt and dust and sand and just a little bit of everything mixed in there with it. This in here will probably clean up nicely, but it will still have some roughness from the rust. That one there is kind of borderline. If I seen this out somewhere and somebody said, I'll let you have it for $5, I would probably take that. But anything over that, the return of the value is just not worth the trouble putting into it anything over that. Now here's a piece I showed in my other video, and it's a Wagner Sydney-O, and it's the square skillet with the squared off handle. And there's specs right here. Get it turned just right. You can see specks all around the bottom, and you can feel the roughness of those specks compared to the front of the pan. So there's going to be some pitting right there. And there's going to be some pitting inside the handle. But the top surface looks really nice. And a piece like this, if they say, well, I'll let you have this for $15, I would probably do that, because this one is worth a lot more, even in its condition once it's finished. So the rarity of a piece and the value of one that's in great condition has a lot to do with it. So I would take a piece like this, for $10 before I would pick up a piece like this for $10. I would probably even pay $20 for this one and not pay no more than $5 for this one in its condition. I have people ask me questions, and they'll send me pictures of pieces, and they'll say, what do you think about this one? Or sometimes they won't even send a picture. They'll say, I got this piece. It's a Birmingham stove and range. What do you think? Is it worth $50? It sits flat. So, well, condition has a whole lot to do with it. It could be worth $50 if it's a Red Mountain number 8 and it's in great shape and doesn't spin. But if it spins a little bit or wobbles a little bit, or if it's pitted or there's a lot of rust, it has a lot to do with the value of the piece. So a piece that has a lot of issues, it may not be worth, but $10 or $15. If you got a Dutch oven that the bottom is a spinner and just terrible, but the lid is perfect, you'd probably buy the piece for the value of the lid and not even consider the bottom. Condition versus the rarity of the piece. This is one right here. Now this is a Red Mountain flat bottom pot. Now it's pitted on the bottom. You can't really tell it in the video so much, but it's pitted. I mean, if you was to lay a piece of paper on it and take a pencil and run across it, you're gonna have a bunch of little holes because it is pitted pretty badly on the bottom. And it gets a little better as it goes up the sides. And then up the sides, we just have surface rust. And the lid looks pretty good. Of course, the inside, it still has a little bit of old seasoning in it. And then the inside, we have some more rust. And there's probably some pitting on the inside. We have some pitting from rust on the edges here. So this piece right here, in good condition, is probably worth about $75. But with the rust factor involved and the pits on the bottom, all the issues involved in it, I would say it's more like it sits, unfinished, more around $25, $30. Now after it's finished, it probably would be worth about $50, but it just depends on how it looks when you're finished. Now here's a Birmingham Stove and Range square skillet, and you can just tell from a distance all the little specks. That's pitted. All across the edge, it looks like it's been buried in mud for quite a few years. It is really bad. Thankfully, it's got a good ring to it. It's not cracked or broken, but I'm telling you what, it is terrible. Now, might have a little bit of a rock to it, so that has effect on condition as well. But this piece right here, normally when it's finished and looking good, probably worth about $35 or $40. But this one will never see a $40 value. This one here, even after it's finished, is probably going to be worth about $20, maybe $25. That's if you put about 3 or 4 or 5 layers of seasoning on it to really cover over and look nice. But if you put about 3 layers of seasoning on it, you're going to be doing good to get $25 out of it, just because it looks so bad. Here's another piece. Here is a made in USA Lodge cornbread pan, and there's a lot of rust inside there, but you can kind of rub around and feel around, and you can see that there's not any pits because the rust is really, really fine. Now you get a piece where the rust is real hard and gritty and thick, that's part of your iron that's just came loose because it has rusted so badly. But you take a piece that has really smooth, fine, almost like dust, then chances are you're not going to have pitting. Now this one right here feels really smooth, even though it has some surface rust around the edge. I believe this one right here will clean up and look just as good as a brand new piece when it's done. So in this case, not an issue at all. Now here's a big piece. Now it looks like dirt. It's been caked on it, mud or something. And it's got a lot of surface rust, but it is a larger piece. Larger pieces tend to bring larger money. Now this is a kind of a new Lodge, but this one here will clean up, and it would be worth, if somebody said, hey, I'll let you have this one for 10 bucks, it'd be worth putting another $15 worth of labor in it. You could probably get $30 or $40 out of it, just because it will clean up nicely and it's not eat up with rust. It does have surface rust, but condition really has a lot to do with if it's worth dealing with or not. We got a Birmingham Stove and Range. It's a Century Series You can tell it's a Century Series by the bottom, for one, if we can even see this. The descriptive lettering, it may not even show it. But it says NO.8, 10 5/8 inch. So this is Century. Now it has a lot of surface rust, and there's going to be some pitting around the edges, and there's going to be some pitting on the inside. Usually when you see rust that's 2 or 3 different colors, you may have deep pitting in some areas and lighter, more shallow pitting in others. So this piece right here is not going to turn out to be like a new piece ever. Now we have the same descriptive in the center. The dimples radiate in an even pattern, so it's not red mountain, it's not random. And there is a lot of surface rust on this. And this little piece here has some spin to it. What I've noticed about Birmingham Stove and Range Dutch ovens, you almost never find one that sits dead flat. You may find one that has a little wobble and you're doing really good. Most of them spin like a top. But on the rare occasion, you will find one that doesn't spin. Usually if you find a piece that has never been used or ever been in the fire or heat. But this little piece right here, probably worth about $50 if it was in great condition. But it's not in great condition. It's got issues. So even after this thing here has been cleaned and restored, it's probably going to fetch about $35, maybe $40 if you're really lucky. So if you know it's going to fetch about $35 and you're going to put about $20 worth of labor in it, you're not going to want to pay no more than $10 or $15 for a piece like this. Because you put $15 worth of labor, you pay $10 for it, and you only get $35, you're breaking even. Cast iron collecting is fun, but you don't want to break even. You want to gain a little somewhere along the way. And last but not least, this little spider right here, and it has probably been around for a long, long time. And it is an old gate mark. You can see the gate mark right across the bottom where they poured it. It was poured in the mold this way. They poured the iron through the top through a spout, and it filled in the pan from there. This one has got some serious issues. There's a little bit, you can't hardly tell it, but there's a little bit of a pink hue on this one. It doesn't show up in the camera as pink, but there is a little outline of pink across through there. And that tells me that it has heat damage. Not just that, you can see where it's really bad pitted. It looks like it's not just pitted because of the rust, but sometimes one will rust a lot faster if it's been fire damaged. And if one has been fire damaged, you will almost never get it to hold seasoning. It'll just soak it up like a sponge and disappear. You say, where did the oil go? I don't know. It just won't take it. And it will continue to delaminate, and no matter how many times you try to put a seasoning layer on it, it just will not stick. But this piece right here, we're going to try to clean it up. We're going to do our best, but I don't have a whole lot of hopes for this piece. Now, because it is so rare, you don't get these spiders very often, I would probably pay $20 for it, even in this awful condition. Because if there is a chance at all that I can get this thing cleaned up and accept a seasoning, it'll be worth having. But it's more like a gamble. If this bad a condition, chances are it'll never take a seasoning. But I would never pay more than that for a piece like this that is in that bad of a shape, just because I can tell by looking at it, chances are it's not going to turn out. Unless it was almost given to me, I would walk away from it. Now each one of these pieces, I'm going to go ahead and put them in a vinegar water bath. And I'm going to let them soak for about, now the rusty, really bad rusty ones, I'm not going to let them soak too long because they will pit really fast. It seems like that vinegar will attack those pits and really eat away at it, and it'll disintegrate before you know it. So I'm probably going to put the really bad pitted pieces in a vinegar water bath for about 15 minutes. Take it out and scrub it down real good and see how it's doing. If it's starting to clean up really good, I might put it in there for a couple, maybe 5 more minutes, and then scrub it down and then start getting ready for seasoning. Now the pieces that I put in there that doesn't seem to have a lot of issues with pitting, I'll leave them in there for about 25 or 30 minutes, scrub them down and take a look at them, and if they look like they could use a little more, I'll stick them back in the vinegar bath for maybe 10 minutes and do that again. I'll repeat the process until I'm satisfied with how much rust has been removed. At that point, I'm going to apply a paste coat of seasoning oil to kind of hold off the rust until I get ready to put it in the oven and finish off the process of seasoning. So I'm really curious how they turn out. Hopefully I'll get to share some of them in the future once I get them done. But I've got a pile of cast iron to get cleaned, so I don't know when I'm going to get them done. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I promise I'll keep more of them coming. Don't forget to check out my website, cookware.com. That's where you can find the seasoning stick. I'm going to be working on some changes of the name, so that'll be coming soon. I had a friend tell me I need to do a little better with the name. It's a little bit on the bland side, so I'm working on a new name and a new look, but the product is still going to be the same internally. So just stay tuned for changes there. You can also follow Cast Iron Cookware on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Sign up to receive emails from Cast Iron Cookware. I try to send them out about every 2 or 3 weeks. I'm a little behind right now. If you're interested, you can also join the Cast Iron Cookware Facebook group. It is growing really quickly. I think at this point we got nearly 1,000 members, which is really exciting. A great bunch of people there who love cast iron, love sharing. So thank you again for watching Cast Iron Cookware. I appreciate you so much. Before you go, I just want to share something with you really quickly. In Matthew chapter 7, verse 24 and 25, it says, "Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock." I just want to say, share the word and be a blessing.